Trains. I love taking the train. I talk about, trains on here quite a few times. I've talked a lot about how much we need to get HS2 built. I still really want that to get built because you listen to a lot of the experts, they've all said it. You cannot solve the train situation and the problems and delays of the trains in the UK without building HS2. You cannot just do anything else. It is the only way to solve this problem. And yet, currently at the moment, we'll see if it does get renewed. There's a lot of stuff sort of going on in the ether. We'll see what happens. But I am, as I say, forever hopeful. And it's something I do believe that, we should want. We should want better infrastructure. We should always want that. We can see even in Europe, how high-speed infrastructure trains have boosted the economy. Look at Japan, probably one of the most successful high-speed rail networks in the world. When it was built, though, came in massively overpriced. People forget that. And of course, took overtime, came in overtime as well. So it took longer to build than expected as well. But high-speed rail, as we have seen, countries that have invested in high-speed rail get a massive return on that. Spain just finished, I think it's 10 years, worth of investment on their high-speed rail in Spain. So ultimately, you are going to see a big return on that high-speed rail investment, go back into it. Not only that, if we do want to meet net zero commitments, having these high-speed trains is going to be a very, very big advantage to, helping to reduce plane travel. I've said before about not just wanting, because we do technically have a HS1. HS1 was technically the Eurostar line from through there to Kent to London. And of course, the first part of HS2 was London to Birmingham, and then it was going to be Birmingham to Manchester with a potential, northern leg going off up to Sheffield. We still need to get that done, but we also need to be talking about HS3, HS4, all these lines connected. So you need to think going, HS3 needs to go really from sort of the north right through Edinburgh, maybe it goes to Glasgow. Maybe once again you have an offshoot going, over to sort of Edinburgh. Again, I don't know. Not a train, track expert. So depending, where you can, put the tracks, etc. Then we need to have definitely another one of, HS4. Maybe that goes from, Birmingham to Cardiff, and then maybe you could have like HS5, which does sort of the south. Maybe this goes from like London all the way through to Bristol, or goes from like, London, Southampton or Portsmouth, Southampton, and on to Bristol. There's all these things and really big infrastructure stuff that we need to do, especially in trains. But we're not talking about that today because, shockingly, believe it or not, Will, if you remember, our favorite T-boy over at Conservative Home, wrote this, where basically he decides to have a train tantrum. Now, we're not going to go through it because, honestly, it's a bit of a waste of time, because he goes, see, Labour paid the Danegeld, and what did the Anglo-Saxons learn about, not paying Danes? Well, guess what? If you don't pay the Danes, well, then you're going to pay the Norse. And if you don't pay the Norse, well, then you're going to pay the Swede. And he's acting like these new strikes that have been announced are because of this pay dispute. It's not. These new strikes announced are not because of the long-running pay dispute, which, bear in mind, if you look at how much this pay dispute actually cost, it cost far, far more in excess of what the pay rise they were asking for. So, thank you very much, Tory government. And these have been going on since about 2022, these pay disputes. But that ultimately has now been settled. The issue that is being brought up here by ASLEF, the train union, is because there has been a breakdown in negotiations between them and the management at LNER. That's why. It's nothing to do with pay, but Will here seems to think that it is. It's got nothing to do with pay. It is about a breakdown of dispute. It's got nothing to do with pay. Pay is not what is being discussed. But then Will decided to go on this random crusade that, oh, if they're going to keep on, striking or whatever, then we should now get rid of train drivers and just do what Dockland, the DLR does. If you don't know what that is, that's London Docklands Light Railway. And that line was specifically built to have driverless trains. Now, because that was specifically built, they can do that. You can't just then start saying, well, this train's going to be driverless and this train's going to be driverless. It would take a huge amount of investment to do that. Huge. I dread to think the scale. In fact, I would be willing to bet that if you were to try and sort of, like, I don't know, make all the trains in the UK driverless, I guarantee you it would cost probably far in excess of what it would take to build HS2, HS3, HS4, even HS5. I guarantee you, because the DLR was built specifically to have driverless trains. Now, does Will bring that up in his arguments? No, of course not. But he complains about the rising costs of trains. But when you look at mode of transport, train drivers and being a train driver is quite a skilled job. I think you want these drivers to be paid well. You want them to be paid well. It's like a pilot. You want a pilot to be paid well. You'd want them to, have a good pay to do that. And one of the things that we have seen, because airlines are constantly in jostling, trying to sort of, steal pilots. Pilots have had insane rates of pay. Not only that, they get paid for like rest days. Do train drivers get paid that? Oh no. In fact, train drivers get paid a lot less than your, average pilot. Even if, let's say, you took a train driver newbie who just passed as like a new pilot as well, that new pilot being paid far more than your new train driver. And even if you were to like follow them throughout their career, guess what? The pilot gets paid infinitely more than the train driver. Now, is Will talking about the problems that, we see very often with delays at airports, etc.? No, he doesn't really seem to care about the rising cost of air travel that have been seen. Almost in some ways do mirror some of the same stuff we do see on the rails. Not 100%, of course, but and it's just so weird to see him going off on this bizarre tangent, attacking train drivers because, well, it's the in vogue thing to do, apparently now, or at least for the Conservatives, but there you go. Meanwhile, of course, he should be, trying to reach out to this because, being a train driver, quite a well-paid job. I'd say probably quite a middle-class job considering, how much train drivers get paid. But does Will seem to think that? No. And then they should start again. If I ever, met Will or we ever got an opportunity to have a conversation, it sort of raises the question. Well, okay, Will, how much should a train driver then get paid? If I think the average. Hang on, it's down here somewhere. Someone actually brought this up as an argument, and they actually are, according to this, a couple of train drivers have responded to Will saying this. Mm, mm, mm. So yeah, here it is. Yeah, someone actually responded to this. So the average BA pilot, again, according to BA Recruitment, earns 71K per annum. And that rises to 100K depending on type rating. I have no idea what that means, but I'm sure someone who's with aircraft knowledge will be able to tell us. In addition, they also get paid rest days on top of holidays, etc. A train driver with 49 years of experience can earn an average salary of £47,000. That is sourced from Reed Recruitment, rising over to 60K for 20 plus years of experience. So, why is Will not complaining about this? He's really, really, honestly getting into a tizzy over train drivers. And this is what I called, if you remember this, when the Tories lost, Will seemed to go into an absolutely crazy spiral down loop where now, if anything slightly bad happens, it's Labour's fault. And he tries to sort of blow up the whole sort of situation, especially on this as well, which again, kind of funny. And honestly, that's why I'm not wasting your time or my time reading through this, because it's honestly just nonsense. Making these arguments. He even brings up the fact that this dispute going on at the moment is not about pay. It's about a breakdown in communication between the union and the management at LNER. It's not about pay. But according to Will, it's all about pay. But there you go. So that's just, of course, as I predicted, last month, Will slowly losing his mind, becoming the Chicken Little of Conservative Home, screaming the sky is falling. And here is a classic example of him just doing that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.